Yes, ready to run. We came from Brazil to run the half marathon today.
This is our first half marathon, but we've been training for 5 months, and so we're doing it together. This is my mom.
Someone doing 5K is easy, I think.
Training alone can be quite a solitary thing, and it's easy to get demotivated. But when you're within a group of friends and everything, the times where you know, your days where you just can't be bothered, they do say that the hardest thing is getting your gear on to go training. Well, if you know you're away to meet a group of friends, it kind of motivates you to meet them and then go out training together. You can share the highs, share the lows.
I'm from Syria. I live and work in Abu Dhabi. I'm running because I can.
I've been training very hard, and it's my first race ever, and I'm doing it for an MS charity today.
I've been wanting to start running for a while, and I think this is a good start for me. Half a marathon is something I think I can handle.
I want to finish in 140 minutes. Last time I finished in 150, so I want 10 minutes less.
We decided to travel around the world, and he found this half marathon, and here we are.
Take it easy, take it slow, it's 21k, and just finish and get the medal and enjoy yourself.
I have a strategy, but I cannot tell you, it's a secret.
Well, we can have a look now at the course that will be run over this morning. It's essentially the same route from the last few years. Around the lagoon there, they go along the Corniche, back towards Kuzam Road, past the Ruler's Palace, down past the Tower Links Golf Club. They do that U-turn at the hospital there at about 15 kilometres, up past the golf course again, slight rise there, and then that run in towards the finish line, where they started from, well, about an hour earlier for these athletes. There they are on the line, ready to go. The Crown Prince gets the field underway. A bit of a hesitation there. They weren't quite sure whether they should get underway, but away they are. Quite a strong wind blowing from their left as they head out over this first 800 or 900 metres. But the numbers pouring through the line, a really good indication of how popular this race has become. Some 3,000 entries in total, although 600 or 800 of those are in the relay. There's over 120 teams of 4 taking part in the relay this morning. Well, there are pacemakers in this lineup, 3 pacemakers in fact due to take them out, and the idea of pacemakers is to set a nice steady rhythm, enable the athletes to relax behind them without having to worry about the tempo being laid down. Well, here's that group of elite women. 56, Georgina Cherono, winner of that Eindhoven marathon last year in a very quick 2:24. She's actually run 7 marathons, quite an experienced racer. And Mary Kaitani on the far side, just hidden there. Well, this elite field already beginning to string out as the tempo takes its toll. Taking drinks on board, absolutely critical on this humid, warm day, even with the wind. And it applies that rule to the elite as well. They have to keep sipping water. That pack about 15 strong. There's the masses, many of them still pouring through the first couple of kilometres. As you can see, road closures complete around RAK this morning. 5 kilometres then for the elite athletes. Now we get a good idea of their tempo. That's 14:12 for the elite athletes there or thereabouts at 5 kilometres. And there's, 13 in the group as they go through there. But it is beginning to stretch out at the front end of the men's race and this women's race. And the gap is there already, look, for Mary Kaitani. 52 and 56, trying desperately to hang on to her coattails here. Caroline Killel is 52 in the green there to the left of picture. And 56, Georgina Rono. And the writing is already on the wall for that chasing group. And I'm really surprised, I have to say, that Kaitani has gone out this aggressively. They're coming up through towards 5 kilometres. There's Mary Kaitani through 5 kilometres. Her split there, 15:37. She's 15 seconds ahead of this chasing quartet, is Kaitani already. That's 80 or 90 metres after just 3 miles. Well, the lead pack of top men is much more densely grouped together, and that underlines really just how cautiously they've gone out. It hasn't been quick.
Everybody needs to do his best. I mean, if one of us doesn't put his 100%, then he's gonna ruin the whole team, yeah. So I hope everybody does the same effort, you know, gives 100% of his time.
We came all the way from Saudi this Wednesday just for the race. To be honest, I'm trying to get my friends into running, so we decided it would be a good idea to run as a team.
So 4 athletes in each team then for the relays. It's a really good way, as he says, of getting into running, introducing yourself to it. Each athlete runs roughly 5 kilometres, that's about 3 miles. It's nice introductory distance. So they get underway, the relay runners, the main race is still ploughing along the road. Join us after the break. What a sight that is. Thousands of runners pouring along the roads of Ras Al Khaimah on this glorious Friday morning. But look at the flags, top right of picture. There's a really good indication of just how strong the winds are that they're having to contend with. And that undoubtedly will affect the times of everybody, not just these joggers or club runners, as we could call some of them, but these athletes as well, the elite athletes trying to broach the 1 hour barrier yet again. In all previous 5 editions of the RAK Half Marathon, the 1 hour barrier has been broken, but these men might fail to do that today because they really haven't gone out quickly enough. 6 kilometres there, and the pacemakers, while they're doing a pretty good job, they haven't dragged them out at a quick enough tempo just yet. There's Mary Kaitani, though. The same applies for her husband, Charles Koech, and the gentleman nearest us, who is also a placemaker for her. That's Timbre of Ethiopia. They are there to try and drag her out at a good, quick tempo, and they're doing a very good job of it so far, it has to be said. Timbre there almost going wrong and somehow didn't spot that arch. It's not hard to see, but he just managed to adjust his position. But it's the history of this race that is so rich now in terms of providing fast times for elite athletes that makes these best athletes want to come back year after year. 8 kilometres there then for the elite. They go through in 22:59, the top men, and the targets they were looking for at that point, 22:08. So they are some way off the tempo, quite a long way, 40 seconds or so behind where they wanted to be. Times for many runners, of course, not so important. They're just enjoying a nice, steady jog around the city, enjoying the sights. Kaitani there, well, you could say she's enjoying the sights. She had a quick glance over to her left there, didn't she, as they negotiated that turn to try and see the other ladies behind her, that group of chasing athletes. But frankly, she was a class apart last year, and she's easing herself into a class apart position this year because the gap behind her now is absolutely monstrous. Last year, of course, Deriba Merga was the champion, an Ethiopian who's absent this year. And he's a man who commits himself 100% through the first half of the race. And these athletes haven't really done that today, this male group. 9 kilometres there, and they're certainly not on schedule for a record, or indeed, perhaps even breaking the 1 hour barrier. And that's a little bit of a shame. Some good steady running going on behind. Great to see all the marshals and volunteers out assisting the elite athletes, and they will need a drink this morning because even before the gun went, it was humid and warm, and this breeze in effect a third problem for the athletes to deal with, to cope with. On world record schedule through this first half of the race. Quite a contrast really with the way things are unfolding in this men's competition. I wonder when one of these athletes will lose patience and start accelerating. Now that's interesting. It looks to me like they have just upped their tempo. The leading men there go through 10 kilometres, and it's not quick enough. 28:45 at 10 kilometres. They really should have been on about 28 minutes. And I think that's why, it was they saw the 10-kilometre marker and realised from the clock on the lead vehicle in front of them that they weren't going quickly enough. That's why they accelerated there. Well, here's Kaitani approaching 10 kilometres. 31 minutes on the clock. Now she's on schedule for 67 minutes. She should go through in 31:50. In her world record, 30:21 was her time at 10 kilometres. And she's actually going quicker than that today, can you believe? Well, 12 and 13 to the left of picture there. Lilesa is 12 from Ethiopia. Dennis Kipruto Koech is 13 to the left of picture. They go through 12 kilometres, and certainly the pace has picked up a little bit over the last mile or so since they went through 10k and saw that they were going relatively slowly. The ever-present pacemakers for Mary Kaitani. They really do take so much of the burden off her shoulders, albeit she's running at a pace here that has never been managed before. She slowed a little bit over the last few minutes. Her time at 10 kilometres was outrageously quick. 31:09. She was very much on world record tempo. She goes through 12 kilometres there, Kaitani. And she has slowed a little bit. Maybe she's had to negotiate a breezy section. And what a job he's making of it too. 14 kilometres then for the man who has now built up a very, very significant lead, I have to say. Denis Kipruto-Koech is destroying this field with this really solid burst in the middle section of the race. Kaitani, well, in contrast, she did the job very early on, didn't she? The pace she set out at was so ambitious. It's not surprising she slowed a little bit. 14 kilometers there for Kaitani, and she's now beginning to slip outside world record schedule. And in contrast, yet again, in this men's race, Denis Koech here, this youngster, has kicked in really hard over the last couple of miles, and he's blown away with 15 kilometers gone. What, 9 athletes who have broken the 1 hour mark for the half marathon. 42.57 there for Koech at 15 kilometers. Kiprotich goes through with Lilesa behind him, then Kipyego, and those guys are about 20 seconds down now. They really have felt the power of that surge from the youngster, who's grasped with both hands this opportunity to get a big race in. $15,000 prize money, remember, for the winners here. That's no insignificant amount for any of these athletes, but for a youngster like the man leading the men's race, Koech, it'll be his biggest payday by a long way. Mary Kaitani then goes through 15 kilometers, 47.12. Well, last year she was 46.40 at 15 kilometers during that world record run, so clear indication there that the time has slipped away from her over the last 3 miles or so, leading up to 15k. Really, the first 10 kilometers was a little bit over-ambitious. We know she's only been training for about 6 weeks, very hard, since her wedding on December the 31st. This young man, well, he might only be 18, but he's been waiting for this opportunity for some time. He said to me yesterday that he has been racing school races over the last few years. Further back down the road, the masses enjoying their day. Lifted the World Championship title for the half marathon distance back in 2009. And when it comes to commercial races like this one, she gets it very right as well. You can see athletes in the background heading down towards that southeastern extension of the course before they take the hospital U-turn. Kaitani there going through 18 kilometers, checks her watch again and knows that with the 3,000 meters to go, surely she won't be caught. She's had the opportunity at the different turns to give herself plenty of information on the progress of those behind her. And without any doubt, the gap behind her will not be closed now, barring disaster. This will be probably the family's biggest ever payday. Through 20 kilometers then, surely heading for victory now. The time 57.26 there. He's got a lead of, well, it's closed a bit, hasn't it? Look at that, just 9 seconds. And without any doubt at all, Bekele in the background is gradually closing down on this youngster. And now he begins to up his game. Look at that. There's a little bit harder pumping of the arms. Another little glance over his shoulder. And Asmaro Bekele in the background is working very hard, but hasn't been able to close the gap. So we do have a new champion, a new name on the record books, and it's the youngster Denis Kipruto-Koech who takes the title there. Unofficially, his time, I saw on that clock, 60 minutes 40 as he goes through the line. In second place, here comes Bekele. That's a good run from him, a really strong closing 3 or 4 kilometers. And in third place, wearing number 2, one of the pre-race favourites, it's still a solid run from Wilson Kipsang Kiprotich. And her features, her face gives nothing away as she goes through 20 kilometers. 63.12 there for Kaitani. Well, in her world record, she went through in 62.36, so she's, what, some 35 seconds or so down on last year's time, but she's still running much, much faster than I expected. Yep. Well, the feet of others just walking round, not moving quite so fast. Of course, last year she set a world record at 10 miles en route to that world best, but today she suffered a little bit through the third quarter after being on world record pace through the first half of this half marathon and was about a minute outside that time at 10 miles. Well, here comes Kaitani chasing home the two of the pacemakers that helped her through the race. Her husband there, Charles Koech, number 18, sprints for the line. Kaitani, though, very close up behind, finishing strongly, and no other woman in sight. She's going to win very, very comfortably here again, over 2 minutes in front. Kaitani retains her RAK Half Marathon title. Her time there, unofficially, 66 minutes 49 seconds. And here is the battle for second place. high knees there from the athlete wearing number 54. That's Faisa Tadesse of Ethiopia. Behind her, the Kenyan pairing of Chirono and Rono. But there is Mary Kaitani already accepting the plaudits and shrouded in that Kenyan flag. 100 metres to go for that chasing trio. Kaitani beginning to cool down as these three reach the hottest point of their race. And still in the lead there, 56, Georgina Rono. Inches ahead, 57, Gladys Chirono. Her compatriot cannot raise her knees any higher. And indeed, second place to snatch there by Rono from Chirono. Tadesse takes fourth place. The three of them locked together for most of the race. The time's still impressive. All three of them well under 70 minutes. But it couldn't have been closer, could it? Look at that. 56, Georgina Rono takes second. Her time unofficially 69.13. Well, further back down the course, some good club runners are still easing their way around the roads of RAK. Some of them through the 20-kilometre point, not that far behind the leading ladies and the pacemakers that helped Mary Kaitani round. But it is a warm morning, quite humid actually, surprisingly, considering the strong breezes blowing across the city of Ras Al Khaimah this morning. But everybody enjoying themselves, smiles there, and the water has obviously been taken on board. And there is the winner of the men's race, Denis Kipruto Koech, receiving his prize from the Crown Prince. Mary Kaitani, the champion for the second year. It does mean a Kenyan double in 2012, as she too receives that trophy from the Crown Prince. Well, the athletes continue to come home. Over 2,000 crossed the start line, we understand, and that's without the 500 or 600 who were in the relay. So really good numbers this year at the 6th edition of the Ras Al Khaimah Half Marathon. Another good day.
It was good, it was hard work, but finished. Fun though, good luck, yeah.
Was this your first international half marathon?
Once last year as well. I think I was a bit fitter last year, so actually felt easier the first time. This was definitely harder.
Did better than I thought actually, but it was tight the second half of the race, so coming up towards the finish. But we had a good time as a team. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Great experience.
Yes, we're very happy. Good result. The air was a little bit dry for us because we are used to running like in the middle of the tropical forest, but we are okay. It was very good race.
It's my first ever half marathon, so it was difficult at times. You get kind of halfway round and you feel positive, but you get about 3/4 of the way round and you feel like just giving in and quitting. But you know, I did with a few of my mates, so they kind of, you know, we jeered each other on and we kept going, and yeah, finished and really enjoyed it.
Well, I hope I will be here next year. Yeah, it was very nice. It was a new experiment and it was enjoyable.
Well, I think my team's amazing. I think we did really well in this RAK Marathon. I hope we can do it next year and to improve our times. So yeah, I think my team's amazing.
It does, yeah. I mean, you know, over 2,000 starters today. I think almost 3,000 entered, but you always get this dropout factor. And it's getting bigger and better. You know, races that reach 4 figures in entry numbers here in the Emirates are fairly rare, but the organisers here do a great job, and it will continue to grow, there's no doubt about it.